Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Inside Track Podcast, Equibase's weekly handicapping podcast, analyzing the feature races of the week, as well as giving our picks and wagers. I'm your host, Ben Kudla with Equibase. I'm joined again today by Corey Patton, the CEO and co-founder of Pramana Labs, which creates stat lines for every race, every track, every day. So thank you so much, Corey, for being here. I'm excited to hear your picks today.
Every week, it's a pleasure to do this. Excited to get to it today.
Yeah, absolutely. So just one quick promotion. So this past week, Equibase announced the Race to the NHC, a free contest series for Race Lens users that you'll definitely want to take advantage of. A really cool contest, just weekly feeder contest that begin this Saturday, September 7th on horseplayers.com. The top two from each week will be qualified for the Race Lens Final 50 in February of 2025, and the top two winners in the Race Lens Final 50 will win a seat to the NHC 2025 in Vegas. So anyone can join anytime. If you don't have a Race Lens subscription, signing up is easy with incredible deals for new and non-active customers. Discounts will be available every week, but this is the only week to lock in an annual Race Lens subscription for just $499. So that's half off the regular price. So check out equibase.com/NHC for all the details. So moving on, let's just jump right in. So we have a great show today, handicapping the Grade 2 $2 million Kentucky Turf Cup Stakes in the Grade 2 Turf Sprint at Kentucky Downs. And as a bonus race, we'll discuss that Grade 1 Del Mar Debutante. So tough handicapping this week, but I'm excited for it. Money to be made. So we'll start off with that Grade 2 $2 million Kentucky Turf Cup at Kentucky Downs. It's a Breeders' Cup winning year-end race for the Breeders' Cup Turf in November at Del Mar. We're going 1.5 miles on that Kentucky Downs turf course for 3-year-olds and up. Field of 11, very difficult handicapping race. Last year's winner was Get Smokin' for trainer Mark Cassidy with Fernando de la Cruz aboard, winning at monster odds of 19-1. And that try last year paid $1,409. So money to be made at Kentucky Downs. Get Smokin' is back in this year for Cassidy and Cruz with a morning line of 12-1. Tons of speed. So I'm very interested to hear your strategy in this race, Corey.
Yeah, look, that again, we talked about it last week at Kentucky Downs, that unique configuration, especially you got 1.5 miles. It's a really unique test. It really kind of mandates that horses have had to run over it. Those I kind of lean towards those that have actually had to run over that to get used to that. It's really, really tough. This race is a bunch of hard knockers. But that $2 million purse will draw tough hard knockers. That's the way it works in horse racing. I think if you look at this race, and you mentioned a minute ago, you said you saw, speed signed on. There's some. I mean, there is. I think some of it is legit, and some of it I think is going to be. You got 1.5 miles, and there's always a bit of a reluctance to want to gun it out of the gate and take that lead. So there'll be a little bit of gamesmanship going on. But from that angle, I don't think it's going to be as hot as you might think. I really honestly think those will fall out. Horses will fall out. They'll be looking left and right. But I think that those that want to go to the front are going to be the Get Smokin' of the world, obviously wire to wire last year. Segoy, Balladeer has one way of going, it seems. Cathkin Peak went to the front last out, but got away with a 118 6 panels. So I don't think that's going to cut it in here. 6 of the 11 have had a race over the track. Get Smokin', Balladeer, and Anglephile have had a victory over that track as well. Get Smokin' obviously won it last year, wire to wire. So there is recency with him as well. So with all that said, I'm going back again with Get Smokin'. I think it's back-to-backs. At 12-1, it's really juicy to look at. I think when he won it last year, it was a super game victory, and I think we're going to watch the video here of that race, of how he did it. It was ultra impressive. And while you're pulling that up, Ben, there have been back-to-back winners twice in this race's history. To Big Hoss in 2015 and 16, and then Rochester in 2002 and 2003. This could be the third time. At 12-1, it won't be quite a shocker as it was last year. But again, I think there's a lot of folks that will bet against. I'm going to sign on at that price at 12-1. I honestly think if we start to play it, it's going to be interesting to watch the horse on the front end. There's Get Smokin' on the front end. And Fernando de la Cruz is kind of sitting chilly if you watch this race run out on the front end. And the horse just seems to have a lot. So you 24 and change for the quarter, 49 and 0.6 for the half. Those are good fractions for this distance. Yeah. The 114 and basically and one almost effortless sit in Chile, that's also pretty stout for this. And if you look at what's going to happen here, if he gets at 114 again this year, I think he's on the lead and can go all the way. He's likely to have that lead, I think, in my mind, because he's on the inside of all the other speeds signed on, and will probably have the rail, be able to save a ton of ground. And in this race, that 137.99 that he posted last year, that was the fourth fastest time of any pace setter in race history, and over 2 seconds faster than the next closest race leader and winner, rumor has it, with a 140.44 in 2008. It was the fastest mile time of any winner of the race, 137.99. And look at this, what this horse has left after posting that fraction. This is what really got me excited about saying, pointed for this, ready to go. These are millionaires that are chasing that horse from behind him. I mean, we've got, Spooky Channel, 1.3 million, Santine, 1.9 million, Red Knight, a previous winner with almost 2 million, Therapist. Those horses could not get there. That horse had every right to falter, to get a little bit tired, and just kept going. So I think that's the horse to beat. I got a couple more stats here, I think. If you look at the way this sets up, in the history of this, the horses that have come out of the United Nations, which is what Get Smokin' did before, there have been 31 of them come out of the United Nations to then run in the Turf Cup. Of that, 6 of them have won out of that prep race, including 2017, 2019, 2020, 2021. This is going to be Get Smokin's third race off a 9-month layoff from this race, September 2023 last year, to June 2024 when he came back. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cassie has pointed him for this exact race. All right. Cassie wins at 33% since January of last year with Fernando de la Cruz, and he's 2 of 5 in 2024 with those two running together. So I think if you also look at the actual performance, last year's effort, there have been 26 runnings of this race at Kentucky Downs dating back to 1998. His effort last year on the front end was the 9th fastest time and the first to go gate to wire since I Owe You Big Time in a 5-horse field in 2012. So it doesn't happen very often. When you see it, take note, right? So right. I'm sitting there with Price. I'm sitting there with pace advantage. I'm sitting there with Cassie pointing this third off a layoff. I'm sitting there with, I think, the advantage on the inside rail of the other speed. That $11,000 purchase back in 2018 has done pretty well for himself, over $2 million in earnings, and I think we'll be set for best. And I'm going to take that 12-1 price and hope it's a repeat merry-go-round from last year.
I do love that 11,000 price and winner of over 2 million. That's a great story. Great points with Get Smokin', and Mark Cassie's been hot, especially in graded stakes races. I'm interested to hear what you think of the morning line 8-5 choice integration. I'm coming off that second in that grade 1 million, running 116. Seems tough to beat. I'm not saying he's my top pick, but
yeah, I mean, the running line of integration is really hard to overlook, right? That 116 is glaring. It just stands out at you. But, I mean, has faced some serious runners, the Warm Hearts of the world. I'm Very Busy, Master of the Seas, Naval Power, Program Trading, Nation's Pride in the Last. Has faced some top quality animals. Right. I think his effort in the Arlington Millions was incredibly impressive, closed super well at that 1.25 miles. Shouldn't have a problem with the added distance. He's my second choice, and I think only 3 horses in my mind have a shot to win this. Shug McGahee and Kendrick Carmouche are 23% together. And the reason I'm putting them in the trifectas and the exactas is they're 8 of 12 in the trifecta this year together. I mean, that's pretty good, right? So of those that may be coming slightly off the pace, he's the one I trust the most. So I'll definitely include him in my exactas and trifectas with Get Smokin'.
I agree. I like him in exactas and tries, but just not to win. I think, honestly, my biggest thing is Kendrick Carmouche has never ridden a race at Kentucky Downs, which is huge. I mean, but I'm going to go a little different route than you here. I'm going to go with Tawny Point. That's 7, more in line of 8-1. Hard not to go with Flavian Pratt. Has been riding lights out in grade stakes races past 6 months. Wins at 29%, 32 wins from 112 starts, 56 in the money. Positive ROI, median win of $8. Pratt doesn't have a whole lot of experience at Kentucky Downs, but last Saturday he did win aboard Destinino di Oro in a maiden special weight. And Tawny Point, man, he's incredibly fast and consistent. That's one of my favorite things. Last 9 starts, he ran a 105 echo-based speed, figure it more, including his last 2 outings where he threw a 114 back-to-back. Best average class in the race as well with a 111. Last 2 starts in the Grade 3 Mama Stakes and Grade 2 United Nations. He finished 3rd in both, but just by a neck each time. If you watch that United Nations race, he's sitting really pretty behind Get Smoking, who ended up winning by a nose. But Tawny Point had that big surge at the end, and so did Grand Sonata, who's the 10 in here, on the inside and barely missed in the wire. And that was a 1:03, so maybe this little extra furlong on Saturday will help him out. If you go back to March of last year, Tawny Point finished 2nd in that Grade 2 Mac Diamita Stakes. Also finished 3rd by a neck. Grade 2 Pan American Stakes, also finished by a neck. So he's always up there. I think this last furlong is going to do really well. And trainer Christophe Clement's been doing so well at this meet, 4 for 4 in the money and 1 winner. So that's how I'm going with Tawny Point. And then also I want to talk about Chief Little Rock, as we saw Bellum Justum last week win. And that's who beats Chief Little Rock a couple starts back.
I'm with you on the Tawny Port as the 3 horses in integration. Tawny Port and Get Smoking are my 3 horses in the exactas and tries. So we're right there. I love it. And honestly, it's hard to overlook Christophe Clement at 4 for 4 in the money already at Kentucky Downs. He gets Pratt, who's 44% in stakes races over the last 10 days. That's pretty hard to overlook as well. So I think that horse will run a good trip. I'm just counting on Get Smoking to just have enough to hang on and have Tawny Port integration fill out the money slots. So I like that. And then your Chief Little Rock, what do you think about him facing older for the first time?
I think it's interesting, but I really trust Aidan O'Brien. I mean, world-class trainer, and he's not going to bring a horse over the pond for nothing. He's won at 33% in North America and 67% in the money on the past 3 years. And then, a horse whose last start was not in North America, like I said last week, winning at 30% clip at Kentucky Downs through racing on Sunday. And now Frank Dettori, he knows the track. 5 wins.
Oh, yeah.
Tied for first with Jose Ortiz. So he's going to be killing it. It's interesting that he'll be going against older horses for the first time, but I don't know. I trust these connections, especially in O'Brien. So I think he'll definitely be up there. I don't think to win, but I was wrong about Bellum Justum last week. So we'll see this week.
It's interesting. I liked Bellum Justum last week, but that was against 3-year-old only. I think if you look at the running line here of Chief Little Rock, those connections are hard to overlook without a doubt. And I appreciate everything that O'Brien does, and the Dettori's hot as well. But if you go back, the last time he won, the horse he beat, Stromberg, came back, got kind of waxed in the Nashville. Against 3-year-olds only. And then Bellum Justum, 3-year-olds only, did win the Nashville against his own age runner, but I think it's too much to handle from that outside post. Obviously, I know it's probably a quality horse. The breeding's exceptional. The connections are exceptional. It's just a whole lot to handle. And at 4-1, that's too low of a price for me to take on this type of scenario, facing these hard-knocking old horses that have won multiple Grade 1s and have won this race before and have run over this track before. It's a whole lot of variables for a 3-year-old to kind of overcome facing these other hard knockers. And for that reason, I am just going to leave him out of my exactas and tries.
Okay. No, fair enough. Yeah, I was actually a little shocked at the 4-1 morning line. It's always so hard to handicap these European horses. But anyway, all right. That's your Turf Cup Stakes. Moving on to the Grade 2 $2 million Turf Sprint at Kentucky Downs. Another Breeders' Cup win you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We're going 6 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. Full field of 12 here, and another tough handicapping race. Last year's winner was Gear Jockey for trainer Rusty Arnold with Jose Lezcano aboard. Gear Jockey won by a headed odds of 23-1, and he's now won the Turf Sprint 2 out of the last 3 years. And he'll go for another try here on Saturday with a morning line of 30-1. Money to be made. Who do you got, Corey?
I'm going with the second choice, Kadeem, at 7-2 in here. There's a lot to like in the running lines in the past. It's kind of, if you look at it, it might look sporadic, but if you look at the class and the tracks that he's run at, this is a really, really tough horse. The trainer, Charlie Hills. But do I need to really talk more about Charlie Hills and Jamie Spencer? They're 2 for 5, 40% together all time in North America, and 5 of 5 in the money together. So that's a lot of confidence that when he's bringing a horse over, gets Spencer to ride, who's ridden this horse before, it's going to be a classic effort and top 3 effort. It's kind of there's money in the bank there, right? His run in 7 Grade 1 races. Okay, let's say 7 Grade 1 races, including winning the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes in 2023 and 24 at Royal Ascot. Okay, that's quality. Spencer was up for the 2023 running. The last 2 races, I mean, if you look at that, not great. And if you can find excuses, it's really hard. Some of those Europeans coming over to really dig in to the video and running lines on that, but did not finish well, 10th in each of those. But as you said earlier about Aidan O'Brien, there's no way Charlie Hills brings him over without a plan. Okay. And here's the plan. He's only ever started 1 horse at Kentucky Downs. Last year in the Mint Millions with Ancient Rome, guess what? That was a winning effort. Spencer rode, won. Ancient Rome has run, had last run before that 31 days previously in England. Kadim will have run 33 days previously in England in this one. So Hills knows what he's doing with this move, this time, this shipping, all that. $2.1 million in career earnings, easily the most of this bunch. I think this horse gets it done. And I think it's going to, the price may even drift up a bit with Cogburn signed into this race. So that's where my money is going to be from the top spot. But I'm anxious to hear what you think about the rest of the speed in this field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You'll get a better price there with Cogburn in the race. For me, though, I love Nobles, the number 10 horse, 8-1, the Chicago Connect. You got to love it. I'm just really shocked that last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner is an 8-1 morning line. I'm here in the Grade 2. Ran a fantastic race that day after getting bumped. I'm having to run back from being in 7th at the start in the 5 furlong race at Santa Anita. Took some well-deserved time off. Ran an allowance optional claim at Saratoga where he finished 4th by 3/4 of a length. On paper, does not look good. But if you watch that replay, he was about to fold like a shirt in the middle of the track, but he just kept on running and did not give up. So I think he definitely needed that race coming off that turf sprint, Breeders' Cup. I think he's going to show up on Saturday. Larry Vele having a solid meet so far, 3 starts and a win in the second. Gerardo Corrales is riding really well as well this meet. 3 wins from 9 starts in the past year at Kentucky Downs. And also in the past 3 years, Larry Vele, Gerardo Corrales won at 75% in graded stakes races together. Ooh. That includes 2 fails, which is, arguably
of course,
their best horse. But yeah, 75% in graded stakes. So, and I love how they bought this horse for $3,500. Now he's made almost $1.5 million. Love the Chicago connections. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. But, that the owner, Patricia's Hope, Vince Foglia, I used to go to the Foglia YMCA as a little kid. So.
These inside nuggets. That's why it's called the inside track there.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that horse. I'm going to get a nice price on him. 6-1 morning on, excuse me. But I think it's also going to be very, very difficult to beat Cogburn coming off those 2 graded stakes wins in a row on that turf sprint at Churchill and most recently in the Grade 1 Jaipur at Saratoga. That Jaipur, man, he ran a 1:15 Equibase speed figure and also broke that track record for 5.5 furlongs on the turf, going 59 and 8. Drawing clear at the end after a blistering 21 and 1/5 second pace. And then Star of Mystery, who finished 3rd behind Cogburn, came back to win that Grade 3 quick call stakes the next time out at Saratoga in mid-July. I think it was a good move to lay him off, although I don't think that was really the plan since he scratched out of that Grade 3 Troy, which ended up being off the turf in that weird weekend. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, in the past 3 years, Steve Asmussen wins at 24% in graded stakes races with horses that ran a career best Equibase speed figure last time out and have been laid off over 60 days. An interesting stat there. But yeah, also Irad Ortiz Jr. had tons of experience at Kentucky Downs. He knows it. Very talented horse. 6-5, I get it, but I'm going to go with all Nobles. But those are really the only 2 that I like.
I promise we didn't even talk about this before the podcast today, but we're on the same 3 horses basically. I threw in Kadim. I'm on Nobles, Cogburn, and look, I think it's just hard to get around Cogburn's last number. That thing was a massive number. I think that obviously if he runs back to that number, everybody's running for second. The 43 half. runs that back again. He's on the lead and gone. That configuration out of the chute at the sprint races at Kentucky Downs is very interesting. Everybody has to kind of get left. So that'll be interesting how that works. I mean, if he gets out, great. If he gets on the front end, great. Might even be gone. Asmussen has won 3 times already at this meet. All right. Yep. So has done it. Obviously his only loss in his last 6 races came in this race last year. So, potentially there, who knows? He didn't miss by much, but, Asmussen and Ortiz are 40% together. There's a lot to like about Cogburn, but that's just a stunning number. And I don't know whether he can repeat that. It's just really hard to do. So I'm looking at Nobles as being the money kind of play here on that as well. I mean, Ravelli's, already won at the meet, 2 for 3 in the exacta. So I feel confident that his horses are running well. I mean, his starters overall are 50% over the last 10 days, 5 of 10 across all tracks in the United States. So they're primed and ready. 50% is a good number. I think that was actually just a warm-up race at Saratoga off that long layoff. I think he was always pointed for this. I don't think that horse was cranked up, ready to go at that point. And I think it's been just, here's our plan. We'll give him a race. We'll point for this race, this high money sprint. And I think that's been the plan all along. Prior to the layoff, he had won 4 of the last 5, including that Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, which is was a phenomenal race to watch. Lost to Cogburn by 3/4 of a length in the Troy last August. So he can hang with that one. So it's not like that horse will be, outclassed. So I think that horse will run a big race at a big number. And there's a lot to like about Nobles, Cogburn, and Kadeem for me in this race. Put that together in your exotics.
Yeah, I'm gonna box those up as well. So I guess we're on the same page with that. Do you think Ravelli is going to scratch one-timer after running on Saturday?
I looked at that and I said, there's a reason why he put that in. And sometimes they put in a horse to fill the race. Yeah. I don't know whether they needed this horse to fill the race, but I do think that horse will scratch. There's no reason to run him back that quickly. I mean, look, there's some good connection numbers about, Loveberry and Ravelli, but that horse, you can't run him back in a week in this type of class race. It just seems.
Yeah. Same with the Kentucky Turf Cup with the XM, the Saffie Joseph Jr. horse. He ran on Sunday.
I don't know who be it for the two of us on a podcast on a Thursday morning to second guess those trainers, but it just seems kind of crazy when you look at that running number.
Fair enough. Well, regardless, there's your turf sprint, and now we have enough time for our bonus race, which is the Grade 1 $300,000 Del Mar Debutante Stakes, going 7 furlongs on the dirt for 2-year-olds. Field of 7 here. Last year's winner was Tamara for Richard Mandela with Mike Smith in the irons, who won by 6 3/4 lengths. Scored a 106 Equibase speed figure, which is the highest winning Equibase speed figure in the race's history since 1976. So you got the 2-year-olds here. I like the little mix of turf action and older horses and sprints and routes. So who do you got here at Del Mar?
I like this race a little bit because I do think that the 2 Bafferts will be hammered. And I think they will take most of the action, and rightfully so. They will both look, nice. But I think that the money here and the good money is going to be with Vodka with a Twist is where I'm going on this. I think she posted that 90 Equibase speed figure last out in the Sorrento Stakes. I think we're going to watch that here in a second. Finishing second and was, 3 3.25 lengths in front of the next finisher. So clearly it was Nooney who won the race, and Vodka with a Twist who finished second. Now let's watch this race. Vodka with a Twist is the 4-horse here, all the way in the back now. Started the race. It's only a 4-horse race, but basically went 3 wide the entire race. Was kind of up close, dropped back, a weirdly run race. But then watch how Smith takes this horse all the way around. Going to go wide, 3 wide. Nooney's on the front end, never had to even move a hair, and did go 44. Looks back there. Now watch the 4 come around and just hang. Leaning in, hanging on that left lead. Will not change leads and making up ground there a little bit, and then finally changes leads coming up here in a second. And then just at that point, Nooney's out of trouble. But didn't lose by much. Ran a really good race. Went a ton more distance than Nooney did. If you go to the GPS figures, I think this horse is sitting on a good race. I think we'll be better off. I think Mike will have the horse, switching leads on command, and I think you're going to end up with a little bit of that, the Baffert Nooney and Tenma, going to be up there trying to push each other a bit. Tenma came off it from a little bit for last time, but I do think that we'll probably send a little bit more, and there's a good amount of speed. And I'm hoping this horse just finishes up well in the stretch and can pull the upset at a slight price on Saturday in the debutante.
No, I hear you. I love it. A couple worrisome stats about Vaca with the Twist. Phil D'Amato and Mike Smith are 0 for 8 in grade stakes races in the last 3 years together. Vaca with the Twist is 4 races and only ever won on an off track. So, obviously she didn't look like that fast track bothered her too much last race, but I think it's just something to consider. I'm going to go with another price, trying to beat Nooney here, who's probably going to be a 1 to 5 favorite, maybe a little less, but I'm going to go with the 3 here. So there she was, 1 for 1 at Del Mar. Ran second in her first 2 starts for life, that main special at Santa Anita back in May, and ran second to Vaca with the Twist on a Money Churchill in the debutante. But what I really like about this filly is her last start, which wasn't a maiden. However, we did see Doug O'Neill do that last week in another grade 1. She was second to last on the rail for most of that race, and had to split horses coming up the rail, squeezed through on the inside going in the stretch, and held off that Bob Baffert horse to win by a length and 3/4. On top of that horse she beat, Showers, won next time out by 5 lengths. So I think that's huge. Not the fastest in this group by average Equibase speed figures, but I don't think we've seen the best of this filly yet. Tons of potential. I think the 7 furlong distance is perfect for her on Saturday. Some horses love it, some horses don't, kind of in between a sprint and a route. But her first race, that was just a short 4.5 furlong race and just didn't have enough to get there. And then she came back on a muddy track at Churchill, which she probably didn't like, and was just second best to Vaca with the Twist. But Vaca with the Twist just loves the off track. So I think a little bit stretched out in distance here on half a furlong could be a big difference. So I'm going to go with, so there she was.
Yeah, it look, sometimes pedigree is one of those things, and Munning shouldn't have any problem with an off track, but sometimes they just don't like it. Pedigree doesn't say everything. Did lose to my top choice, in Churchill. Lost by 3 lengths to Vaca with a Twist. Vaca with a Twist has run in multiple, at this point, 2 stakes races. No other horse in here can say that, so it's got some class advantage in my mind. It's just running in stakes races is different, and also at 4 increasing speed figures. So got a little bit of bottom under her that the others may not have. So I look at her to relish this 7 furlong distance. I think that will be the difference in here will be that final furlong. And that's why I'm playing Vaca with a Twist to kind of make that difference up at 7 furlongs. But look, so there she was with Doug O'Neill. Love Doug. Doug trains his horse as well. He's a great guy, friend of mine. I root for him, just not this case. Vaca with a Twist runs it down in the final furlong.
One thing I do want to mention before we go here, Nooney has a $5,000 stud fee for that sire, win. It was bought for $1.8 million.
Yeah.
Back in March as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
When did you see that? I mean, shout out to that breeder of Ocala stud.
I mean, it must have looked like a shiny copper penny. I mean, the confirmation must be incredible. So
yeah, that sire win, and Dam, both progenies win over 30% in turf sprints lifetime. So another thing to consider with Nooney, but it'll be hard to beat. But I love it that we're trying to go for a little price here. But anyway, that's all the time we have for today. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Corey, for being on again. I loved hearing your picks.
Good times. Talk to you soon.
All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. See you next week.